Hi, my name is Frank Munz. I work for the tech marketing team here at Databricks, and I will guide you through this data engineering training today. Let's have a quick look at what we're going to cover. So I want to kick it off with working with GitHub folders in your workspace. Then we dive deep into Delta Live tables. You'll learn everything you need to know to code your own DLT pipelines in SQL using streaming tables and materialized views. We then do a quick detour and look into notebooks, and I'll talk to you about the serverless concept, serverless compute with notebooks, which also means you're running a small serverless Spark example, and you're also working with Databricks Assistant, which is a great help for everyday tasks. And then last but certainly not least, we look into orchestrating your daily tasks with workflows, and we actually code a non-trivial small example with workflows. Right, let's kick it off. I'll change to the Databricks workspace that you've already created. And in the first step, I go to my workspace, I click on workspace, click on the home, and then in my home area, I create a new Git folder. So I click on Git folder here. And for doing this, I need the GitHub repo. It's a public GitHub repo that we're using, and I just copy it from here. If you're following along, you will have a description underneath the training, which links you to a step-by-step guide. And in this step-by-step guide, we again explain you how to get to this GitHub folder. We give you the URL. And actually, if you don't want to use that folder, you can even copy and paste the source code that we need just from that document. So I highly recommend to open that document as well. If you don't want to work with a document, the URL is actually quite easy. It's just Databricks/TMM. And then we need a folder name. I'll name my folder just training. And actually want to do a sparse checkout. And the sparse checkout means we don't want to have all these directories because we have a lot of stuff in there. We run a lot of trainings and workshops. The thing is, we only want to use that New York Taxi Fares folder. So I copy this bit of the URL, New York Taxi Fares, and bring it back here as the cone pattern. Now, the cone pattern is what defines which subfolder will be checked out. So I create this Git folder. It should only take a few seconds. And then you see here is my Git folder, and this is what I'm interested in. And basically, we want to work, first of all, with this DLT notebook, and later we create a whole workflow using a second notebook. So I open the notebook, I'll double click on the notebook, and you see this notebook is containing SQL code. Now, to understand the structure of this is you need to understand the medallion architecture. The medallion architecture is a way of, it's actually an architectural principle. It's nothing that you have to do, but it's something that has proven to be very useful for many of our customers. And it kind of splits up the whole pipeline into three areas. It's bronze, silver, and gold. And they're clearly marked here. So you see we start with this bronze area. This is where we do the ingestion. Actually, best practice is just do the ingestion here of the data and don't do any complex transformations. So here we work with a public data set. That's great. That means you don't have to pre-install it. It's already installed in your Databricks environment, and we read from this public data set. And actually, that's the bronze layer. And then we have a silver layer, which is here in the middle, where we do a couple of joins. And I'll walk you through this in a little bit more detail later. And then last but not least, we have this gold layer. And in this gold layer, we create a materialized view. And that materialized view can be used downstreams. It can be used for dashboards. But first of all, we kick it off with this streaming table. Streaming tables are a concept of DLT, and they allow you to incrementally ingest data from an append-only data source. So our data source is actually a table, but we read from this table in a streaming way. You could also read from a Kafka topic. You could read from PubSub. You could read from a folder. And there's different ways of doing that. Here, we want to keep it simple. I want to show you that streaming table. So this is why we create the streaming table. It's incrementally reading from that table. And if we rerun this and that table was updated, incrementally means if there is like 1 billion rows and we add 17 new rows, we rerun the pipeline would not reread the billion rows, but only the additional 17 rows. So that's the benefit of using streaming tables. And obviously, I mean, just think about it, not reading 1 million rows, just 17, it cuts down your costs a lot. And then once we have this bronze table in the silver area, we reuse the bronze table. So it's actually reading from that raw records that I created right here, taxi raw records. This is the bronze one. And here I read from this bronze one again. I'm actually here, I'm creating those silver tables, and those silver tables, they calculate the average fare by trip distance for each week. So these are kind of intermediary tables. And then at the end, I create this materialized view. So here again, you see it's a materialized view. It's a streaming table here. The materialized view is a pre-computed table, and it kind of speeds up dashboards. And it's if you use the serverless compute, it's also incrementally updated. So that's the benefit of the materialized view. And that's the gold layer. The gold layer, we finally combine those two silver tables, and we show the top 3 most expensive taxi rides. So here we start with 22,000 New York taxi rides. We kind of narrow this down. We join the data that we need to join. We work with expectations. This is the expectation. Here we say constraint. I only want to have entries where the valid distance is the trip distance is more than 0. So I want to have entries with a valid distance. And they're called expectations in DLT, and they kind of guarantee the data quality. So this is a syntactical way of improving the data quality. And then later, if we go from bronze to silver to gold, again, we kind of narrow down the data. We drop rows, we drop columns. Typically, we continue to work with expectations. And this is why the gold table has the highest data quality. And here, this table should show the 3 most expensive taxi rides. So it's actually taxi rides which either stay within the same zip code or which are crazy expensive and have a short distance. And those top 3, this is why the MV is called top N, should be displayed here at the end. All right, so that's the code. Once you have the code, you need to define the pipeline. This is just the code, and we need to tell the Databricks intelligence platform how to run this pipeline. And for doing so, I click on pipeline, and then I say I want to create a new pipeline. I'll give this pipeline a name. I say just training New York taxi. And now I have to switch here to make it serverless or not. Now, look at this. If I go down here, there's this compute section where I can define cluster policies and minimum, maximum amount of workers, etc. If I click on serverless, this goes away. So the serverless switch here allows me to use serverless compute, which is easier. You've just seen that all these settings go away. It's actually faster because we can kind of host these serverless instances in a warm pool and then just assign them to you. And it's also cheaper because you only pay for those slots of those instances that you actually use. So lots of benefits. There's actually many more. If you switch to serverless, there is also more optimizations kicking in. Maybe you heard of this enzyme optimizer, you get incremental refresh for materialized views. You get enhanced, improved autoloader. Autoloader is the way to read from directories and to ingest files incrementally. And there's lots of additional benefits that you get with this serverless. So there's actually no reason not to use it. We use it here in this example. I can run the pipeline once. That means I trigger it manually, or I want to trigger it with a workflow. This is what I want to do later. Or I can just keep running the pipeline if I click on continuous here, which gives me super low latency, but keeps the system up and running. So I'm happy with triggered. And then I click on path, and then in the path, I click on my user directory. It should be in this training folder. In this training folder, I have the New York Taxi, and then I select the DLT notebook. This is it. It's only one notebook. It could be more than one notebook. You can have a pipeline that consists of several notebooks. I'm using Unity Catalog, and I use a catalog with a name Demo Frank. It should be a catalog that you have that exists or that you can access. And then in this catalog, I'll just define a new name, training, New York Taxi. And you see the schema either doesn't exist or you don't have permissions to use it. If it doesn't exist, a new schema will be created. That's fine for me. And no notifications. Here you can decide between, switching from current to preview. It kind of defines what runtime internally is used. I'm often using the preview in my daily tasks because I explore a lot of things. If you want to be more traditional, more conservative for your production environment, maybe stick to current. Let's go for preview here. Why not? I create a pipeline. Let's see what is happening. It will take a bit, and I'll just, click on start here, and it's starting up. Pipeline is being created, and you see here's the link back to the source code. So this is basically part of the settings that I defined. If I click on settings, I get back to the settings. I'm not going to change it now. This is spinning up. It takes a little bit for the allocation of resources, and then it will go to initializing and setting up the tables. If I click on catalog here and I narrow it down to the one that I was using, it was the Demo Frank one, and then I said New York Taxi pipeline. You see it's still empty, but the streaming tables and the materialized views that I defined in the pipeline, they will be created here. Now, the cool thing is this is the name of the catalog. This is the name of the schema. So the cool thing is for these catalogs and schemas and managed objects in our governance system, which is Unity Catalog, I can define permissions. So I can say who has privileges to access what. I can grant permissions to principals. I can grant permissions to everyone. And here I can select what they should be able to do or not. I'm not changing it here now. I'm actually going back. So this is looking good. It's just setting up the tables. It will take another few seconds. And then you can already see the pipeline graph here. And you see those 22,000 taxi records are being ingested. We see the table name, and we can go back to the catalog by just clicking here. So if I click on this link, I get back to Unity Catalog to exactly the settings that I was showing you. If I click on sample data, you see the first sample data that was ingested. So going back to my pipeline, this is a great overview of what the pipeline is doing. It's the number of ingested records. And at the end, I told you it's deriving the top N, actually the worst taxi rides that we have. Again, let me click on that table name. And then we go to sample data again. And look at this. There's a taxi ride that cost $95. It was only 2 miles. And there was another one, $60. So this is all like super expensive taxi rides that we, this is actually the trip distance here. So like super expensive taxi rides, $60 for less than 1 mile. Would you like to pay that? I would definitely not. And then again, I promised you to show you these streaming tables, materialized views. You see them here in Unity Catalog, and you could manage them. You could give them permissions, give your people permissions to read them or not. All right, so this is looking good. Once we are here in Unity Catalog, you can also go to lineage. You can see the lineage graph. Now, in this case, actually the lineage graph is looking pretty much like my pipeline. But the streaming table here, it could also ingest from a volume, and then you would see the volume. We don't have volumes here because I wanted to keep it simple intentionally. We do other workshops like live hands-on workshops where you give you environments, and this is where you can also work with these volumes. If we were using this materialized view for something else, like as a feature table or for an ML model, you would see the downstream items here as well. So this could be much, much more complex than just a pipeline. Right. So that looks good. You understand streaming tables now. You understand materialized views. You could probably, at least copy and paste your own pipeline or carefully code your own pipeline. You know about the settings for the pipeline, which exist here. We have this development and production switch. It means in development, we keep the resources around that we use to run the pipeline. In production, they would be, given back if it's serverless or shut down if it's a cluster. So you don't have extra costs. And that's it. That's the whole thing about DLT and pipelines. Now, if we go back to our workspace and to the home and to the training, you see that there is also another notebook, and it's actually a very small notebook. But I want to draw your attention to this setting here. It's saying connect to serverless. And actually now this notebook is connected to serverless compute. Same serverless compute as what we have seen for DLT. Now, if I run such a notebook cell, and this is only creating a mini Spark example, this is range 5, and then it converts it to data frame, you will see this is running in serverless. And first time it takes a few seconds to spin up. The cool thing is this is the result. We can also click on performance, and then you see what is happening performance-wise, how long it took, data written and read, and then we can even drill open and get more detailed information about the query profile. And not doing this here, closing this again. I just wanted to let you know that this exists. That's another benefit of using serverless. And let's run this one as well. It's another small example that creates a data frame. One more thing I wanted to show you here with this notebook, and this is actually why I brought you this notebook. One of two reasons why we have this notebook. If you do any mistake, like let's say you forget this closing bracket and you try and run it, it actually doesn't run, of course. You get this error message. It says incomplete input. Immediately the assistant pops up, or you could actually manually bring it up if you want. So either way, it just, look here, it gives you this suggestion already. Let me close this. Another way to get there is to click on this little star. It opens this command line, and then you have commands like, it says like doc or explain or rename or fix. I'll click on fix, and then it comes up with the solution. I click on accept. It's automatically adding this, closing bracket. Click on run, and voila, it's running. So assistant is an AI assistant that understands the context. It understands meta information. Remember what I just showed you about Unity Catalog. It knows all this data. And this is why it's more clever than, if you would just take this line and paste it to ChatGPT, because it understands your context. So it's much more helpful for a developer. And I love to use it for many cases. So if I write complex SQL, it's fantastic. Actually, one other thing, let me show you this. If you go and just say document this, it gives you a documentation. So it helps you to create documented code. I typically tell people, please review what it generates, because it's not always the best solution. Sometimes you want to add a little bit more context. But it's a brilliant starting point to get away, from comment-less code. And I think this is all you should know about notebooks and serverless notebooks. If I actually go back to the New York Taxi example and bring up the assistant again and say explain here, it says, look, what you're doing here is you create a materialized view, which is a statement. It creates this materialized view, top N. It stores the result of the query physically, which can improve the performance of complex queries. This is kind of how I motivated the usage of MVs. So I highly recommend Assistant. It's great for code generation. It's great for fixing code. It's great for documenting code. And last but not least, it's also great for explaining code. All right, let me close this. This is actually the New York Taxi example again. And you see it is connected here to this DLT pipeline. And once it's connected here, you also get a different view. So if send a pipeline from the cluster. Let me just, I think it's not selected. No, it's not connected yet. Now, let me connect this here. And then once it's connected, you see the pipeline view as well. And you get the DLT event log. So if something is going wrong, you could look it up here. Even if nothing is going wrong, you can get more detailed information of what the pipeline is doing. And even if nothing is going wrong, you get more detailed information about what the pipeline is doing in these event logs or pipeline logs. Right. Now, I want to shift gears and switch to workflows. And well, workflows is the orchestrator in the data intelligence platform that allows you to orchestrate anything. And well, we don't have that many things right now. We have exactly one notebook and we have one pipeline. And I'm going to create a workflow for you that orchestrates those two items. So I named this workflow training New York Taxi. And I have the first unnamed task, and this should be ingestion from New York Taxi dataset. It is of type. Do you remember we created a pipeline? So it's Delta Live Tables pipeline. I'll take this. I'll select the pipeline. This pipeline is again the training pipeline. So I'll pick this one. That looks good. Do I want to trigger a full refresh? I actually don't need that, but I could do it. So let's just take it off. You could do either way. It either fully refreshes the reading in the data, or it doesn't do that. I'll keep it off. I'll create this task. You see, that's the ingestion task. It's just a simple one-step job now. And I want to add another task. And actually, this other task is my notebook. Now, the notebook now we just had it. It's just like a super small example. I'm going to reuse that notebook. And it is actually a downstream notebook. So it could do some, I should write this correctly. It could do some downstream update of any system. And we just imagine now it would do that. You already know it just does a little bit. It's type notebook. It's using, it's in the Workspace. And let's look if I can find it. It's under users, my user, and then it's under training, and in the training, where are we? In the training, it's in this folder, and that's the downstream workflows notebook that you already get with the Git checkout. I'm using this. You see again, it defaults to serverless. So when the workflow is running, it's also using serverless compute for this notebook. And then for the DLT, it's using the serverless compute for the DLT. I create this task, and should take a second. Where's my task? It's here. You see them both together, and then I run them, and it's spinning up. I can view this run. And I can see the graph here, which is like the combination of nodes. This one is running. This one is still blocked because the second one depends on the first one. You see the execution times. You see all the details that I get here, like it's created a new Delta Life Table pipeline. You get back to the DLT pipeline if you click on this one. I launched it manually. This is my name if you want to connect on LinkedIn. And if I don't want to cancel it, I just want to go back to this run thing. Now, this one is done already. You see this only took 30 seconds, and it's running a whole DLT pipeline. And now this one is spinning up. Again, it takes a few seconds to spin up, but then it's executing this node in a serverless way, which is fantastic. I can click on timeline here, which gives you this Gantt diagram that I absolutely love it because it's updated dynamically, and you see the critical path of your workflows and of your flow. And you could just like, if this keeps running, you could kind of use it and see where your longest running path is, and kind of look into this into more detail. So I one of my favorite features here, this Gantt diagram. If something is going wrong, by the way, you can also click on repair run. That means if you have a notebook with an error, you can click on this repair run. You can select which one you want to rerun after fixing the problem first. So the interesting thing is it's not rerunning the whole flow. It's not rerunning the whole workflow. It's just doing everything downstreams from where the error occurred, or manually if you select which node you want to rerun. I'm not doing this because I have no problems here in my workflow as far as I know. And I just go back to here. And this is actually what I wanted to show you about workflows. So what we covered is how to create your own workflow. I defined the first node, which was this one. It's a DLT node. If you click on that, you see the details. If I go back to this, you also see this matrix view. It actually ran successfully. So this bar, it shows the total runtime. That's the execution of the first node, execution of the second node. Again, you get the details. You see that this was running with serverless. And if I click on run now again, you will see it spinning up again here. So this is the matrix view, and that's the other super cool view in addition to this Gantt view that I was showing you previously. So you know the matrix view, you know the Gantt view, you know how to create a workflow. We started with the workflow, just create workflow, define the first node. It was a DLT node doing ingestion here. And then we had another node, which is, we see them here in the task. So this is the DLT node. And then we had another node, which is just this notebook node. And both together is the DAG. Sometimes people call it DAG for the workflow. So you've seen that. And that's actually all I wanted to show you. So to recap, what we did is we started with a workspace, and in that workspace, in my home folder, I created a Git folder, which contains everything. And you can just check it out, and then you get those two notebooks. You have the DLT notebook. We used it to define the pipeline, to run the pipeline. And there's another workflows notebook, which is just this downstream notebook that we also reuse to play with the assistant. In DLT, we worked with streaming tables for ingestion. We worked with materialized views for pre-computed queries that are super useful to speed up dashboards or super useful to be used downstreams. For anything, we covered that it's very useful to enable serverless because you get a lot of additional benefits in addition to faster execution, to lower cost, and in addition to all these benefits. And then I showed you Assistant. We worked with Assistant in the notebook. Remember, like this is your helper. You toggle the Assistant. Sometimes it pops up automatically. It helps you automatically. And then we defined a notebook. This is actually everything I wanted to cover today. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to post them at community.databricks.com. Thank you for joining us today.